Hi, Room 230. It's time for writing. Last week we started poetry and we thought about rhyming words and using rhyming words in our poetry. And I heard some really great poems at our class meeting last week. And I also got to read some fun poems that you guys sent in with your homework. So thank you so much for writing those great poems. I'm really looking forward to hearing some more at our next class meeting. So I hope that you'll write some more and share them on Wednesday. But today we're not going to talk about rhyming words. Today we're going to talk about poems that don't rhyme. These poems, instead of thinking about rhyming, they think about syllables. These poems are called haiku poems. And I love haiku poems. It's one of my, they're one of my favorite kind. So let me tell you about haiku poems, and then let's talk about syllables. And then we'll read some so you guys can understand what I'm talking about. So a haiku poem. Haiku is a Japanese poetry form. The poems are short, and usually they're about nature. They are only 3 lines long, and instead of rhyming, they always have the same number of syllables. Now, what are syllables? You know what syllables are. We sing that Blazer Fresh song all the time about syllables. They're what you get when you take a word apart. Clap, clap, clap it out. Right. Syllables are parts of words. We can clap out a word to know how many syllables it has. In haiku, remember there's only 3 lines in haiku, so the first line will have 5 syllables, the second line will have 7 syllables, and the third line will have 5 syllables again. And that's all there is to it. So let me show you some haiku poems so you can start to understand what I'm talking about. I'm going to go to Epic. And on Epic, I have a collection of poetry books that I've put together for us. And you can find this when you log into Epic. And these are all poetry books that I've put in our collection. And today we're going to look at this one, If It Rains Pancakes. And this one is a whole bunch of haiku poems. And so you can go and look at this book yourself and get some more ideas after this lesson is over. So like I said, haiku usually is about nature. So, and this very first one that they give us here is about nature. I'll read it to you. April, yellow tulips rise as if they're awakening from winter's slumber. See how short that is? They're very short. Now, what was this I said about syllables? 5 syllables in the first line, 7 syllables in the second line, 5 syllables in the third line. Let's check it out and see. Does this have the 5-7-5 pattern? The first line is yellow tulips rise. How many syllables is that? Let's count them out. Yellow tulips rise. Yeah, it's 5 syllables. Yellow tulips rise, 5 syllables. The second line is supposed to be 7. Let's see if it is. As if they're awakening. Awakening. Yeah, that's a big word and it has a lot of syllables in it. So that made 7 syllables. Then the last line, from winter's slumber, 5 syllables again. So that one fits the pattern. Yellow tulips rise as if they're awakening from winter's slumber. Now, normally haiku is written about nature, but this book has some very silly haiku poems that are not written about nature. Let me show you some of them. This one here with the pig, if you've watched the fairy tale lessons for this week, you're going to notice some similarities. Watch out. My pet pig, Betty, in her full karate stance, performs the pork chop. Do you guys recognize that joke, the pork chop? Yeah. Let's count the syllables. My pet pig, Betty. Betty is 2 syllables, so it's my pet pig, Bet-E. That's 5 syllables. In her full karate stance. That one's kind of hard. Karate. Yeah, karate's 3. In her full karate stance. There's 7. Performs the pork chop. That's 5. So some words have 2 syllables. Some words have more than 2 syllables, and some words are only 1 syllable. So, and you're not counting the words, you're counting the syllables. Let's take a look at some more. Let's read this one down here about pizza. It's called Delish. Cheese for Eloise, pepperoni for Tony. I love pizza day. Cheese for Eloise, pepperoni for Tony. I love pizza day. Notice that these are not rhyming, but instead we're focused on the number of syllables in each line, 5, 7, 5. Let's read this one here, yummy. This one's kind of gross. When something's so good, you want to taste it again. That's what burps are for. Ew, that one's gross, isn't it? When something's so good, there's the first line, you want to taste it again. There's the second line, 7 syllables. That's what burps are for, 5 syllables. All right, let's see what else they have. Let's read this one here, what if? If it rains pancakes, I'll need no umbrella, just syrup, fork, and plate. I would love it if it rained pancakes. I like pancakes. All right, here's another gross one. Reversal. Noses smell, feet run. But the opposite also is oftentimes true. Think about that one. That one's a joke. Noses smell, feet run. But the opposite also is sometimes true. Sometimes your nose runs and your feet smell. Let's read this one, baby. Scream, pause, scream. How can such a tiny mouth create so much sound? This makes me think of Irvine because at Irvine's house, they have a brand new baby. Congratulations, Irvine and his family. I wonder if they're thinking about this right now. How can such a tiny mouth create so much sound? I like this one, the mind. Memory is like a room where tiny boxes hold our yesterdays. Memory is like a room where tiny boxes hold our yesterdays. And the last one I'm going to read is kind of silly because it actually uses the word syllables in it. It's called haiku. When you've written one without enough syllables, you add words. Football. This one is also a joke. They ran out of syllables in the last line. They needed 2 more syllables, so they just added an extra word. It's kind of just a random word, football. When you've written one without enough syllables, you add words. Now you see, they ran out of syllables because there was only 3 in the last line. So then they just said the word football. Football doesn't really seem to have anything to do with that poem, but it's silly. It's a silly poem. Okay, so we're going to think about how can we write our own haiku using that 5-7-5 syllable pattern. And I'm going to write my own with you right now, and then I want you to write your own haiku and share them either at class meeting or you can just email them to me. Last week, I wrote a poem about summer. I wrote a rhyming poem about summer, and I'm still looking forward to summer. So I think today I'm also going to write a summer poem. Summer is the best. Does that have 5 syllables? Let's count them. Summer is the best. 5 syllables. Okay, now I need a line that has 7 syllables. What do I like about summer? I like that the days are really long, and I like that I don't have a lot to do during the summer. Let me see if I can figure out how to say that in 7 syllables. Long days, lazy, let's see, long days, lazy afternoons. That works. Afternoons. Long days, lazy afternoons. That's 7 syllables. So now I just need one more line with 5 syllables. The other thing I love about summer is that the days are long, but then the nights are warm, and I like to be outside looking at the stars. Let's see if I can make that be 5 syllables. Warm nights, there's 2 syllables. Watching stars. There we go, 3 more syllables. Watching stars. Okay, there's my haiku. Summer is the best. Long days, lazy afternoons, warm nights watching stars. I should give it a title. What should I call it? Just summer? Okay. All right, there's my title. Summer is the best. Long days, lazy afternoons, warm nights, watching stars. So when you go to write your own haiku, remember that the pattern is 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and then 5 syllables. I'm wondering if you're going to write some haiku about nature, or are you going to write some gross haiku, like the burping one that we read? Are you going to write a silly one, like the poem about how they ran out of syllables, so they just said football? What are you going to write? I'm so curious. Please write at least one haiku poem and then share it with me. And I'm looking forward to hearing some of you read them at our class meeting on Wednesday. And until then, I'm going to say goodbye. Bye, Room 230.